Welcome, everyone, to the Game Ball Podcast. I'm your host, Tom Schuster. Joining me tonight is Mark Myers.
Hello, everyone.
Tonight, we'll be recapping Summer Game Fest and reviewing our Retro Roulette game, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2, for the Sony Playstation. But before we get to that, Mark, what have you been playing?
Yeah, so I think since we last spoke on this podcast, I have finished Expedition 33, Clair Obscur.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I have also platinumed it.
Wow, Mark. And the real congratulations goes there, because that probably took, 200 hours?
No. This was one of the... This is only my second platinum, and the other one was The Walking Dead, where basically you finish the game, you get a platinum. The first Telltale one.
Yeah.
But this was one of the more... The reason I did it was this was one of the more easier platinums. One part is really hard. And it took me a while, and then it took me figuring out how to break the game to be able to beat it. But all it was get the collectibles, which for like the last two of each of the collectibles I looked up, because I did it off stream. Because I'm like, I'm only down to like two more of these. Like, I'm just going to look it up to get the, It was getting all the journals and getting all the records. And two of them were in places I didn't even think of. So it was a good thing I did look up that. But there's a final, like the hardest boss in the game, where everybody that plays it recommends that you should be at least level 85 or higher. If you haven't figured out how to break the game yet down there. So I went down there in the 90s, because I did get a character to level 99 without using New Game Plus. That's probably what took the longest. And I tried to beat him without looking through the stuff and breaking the build. And I got about halfway. And then he does a move where he essentially just erases your party.
Oh, that's fun.
And you have to bring your backups in. And I was like, oh, no. And it wasn't like I wasn't like beefing them up, because you get 80% experience, which is what you're going to love when you play it, Tom. Even if you're not in the party.
Well, that's good.
So they sort of like the ones that are in the party, like level way like faster, like they'll get like 4 or 5 levels ahead sometimes. Because that 20% ends up being a lot at times. But I was able to have everybody right around the 90s. So if I would have been better at parrying, I may have been able to do it. But I had set the first party up to complement each other so well that when it got wiped out, I just didn't know what to do. So after like 4 hours of trying to beat that boss, I just dove deep, because it was one of the last 3 things I had to do. So then I dove deep and finally figured out how to play one of the characters that I wasn't playing a lot, and then just teamed her up with Mael, and ended up doing 115 million points of damage in one hit. And that's basically double the health of the second phase of that boss.
It's quite a bit of damage, Mark.
Yeah. And this was when I got to this point when they nerfed the move that I did. So I can't imagine what that would have been.
You still did 1.5 million damage?
No, 115 million.
Excuse me, 115 million damage. And then
I was like,
that's
don't sell me
being
short.
nerfed.
And I was after being nerfed like 40% or something crazy like that. Because they didn't realize, they probably, because I know the small team thing and all that, they did contractors, so it's not really 30 people making it. But I'm guaranteeing you that they didn't realize that people could figure out you put these 3 skills together, and it just makes this one skill like astronomically powerful.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things, right? You're never nobody ever thinks of that until it happens.
Yeah. It was like this one person had a skill where she could give someone double damage, and then she would go again if you had this one special Picto. So then you would do something called intervention, which essentially means you give them action points, like give any party member action points, and then they go immediately, no matter where they are in the turn order. So I essentially had Mael doing 400% damage before even calculating any of the Pictos into the damage, any of those percentages. And the move already was a high level damage move, and she was level 99. It was like all this just boom, one shot. But yeah. So I platinumed it. I had to do a real fun thing where one trophy I got was something I missed at the very, very beginning of the game. There's a mime you have to fight, or not have to, but could fight in the prologue.
Is that the one you walked up to and got smoked real bad?
Yeah.
Okay.
In the very beginning of the game, yeah. So I New Game Plus, beelined it to him and beat him in like 2 hits to get the final trophy and get the platinum. So yeah. So all I'm saying is that game's platinum is doable without using New Game Plus, which is what makes it a really good and easy platinum. I keep using the word easy, but it's if you've ever looked into platinuming or whatever the Xbox equivalent is of getting a full gamer score.
Yeah. They just call 100%ing.
Yeah. They just, there's just things that are almost impossible, or things like you mentioned that would take 200 hours to do. Like Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth, both you have to beat it on hard mode. Plus a bunch of other shit.
That alone makes it incredibly long.
Mm-hmm. This one does not require. You could beat this on the easiest mode and get the platinum.
That's good.
Yeah, except that final boss, I beat it on the medium level. Oh, also because I only did it in 2 hits, so I could have been on expert.
Well,
and done
it's also nice that it gives it to you without having to beat it on hard mode, because that takes forever.
Yeah, because essentially all hard mode did was change the percentages of damage and made the window tighter for parrying. So it wasn't like it didn't add HP. It just made the damage you dealt and the damage they took like a percentage change. So they didn't become sponges or anything. It was more reliant on skill than until you could break the game. So, But I really enjoyed the game a lot. I finished it like 60 something hours, with everybody over level 94. So yeah, probably there's only one game, unless if something comes out of nowhere, which I don't even think the come out of nowhere indies could beat this year. Death Stranding 2 is the only one that really has a shot at dethroning for Game of the Year, because it just had everything: music, plot, battle system, characters, voice acting. It's as close to I wouldn't give it a 10 because there are some things with it, but it's definitely the most 9.5 game I've played in a long time. Like without hesitation. I can say that without having to justify it or anything, in my mind. So I finished that. Then I've been playing some NHL 25, which I'm doing the real dumb thing, not where I put a bunch of really good players on the team. But what I did was also trade them all away for a lot of draft picks. And now I have basically an entire team full of people that I've drafted in the top 10 over the last 4 years. So it's like kids in 21 to 23 years old filling out an entire roster, which is fun because they're all like in the high 80s, 90s, because they're all top draft picks. They're all elite players or franchise players. But I also, for some odd reason, have a defenseman that is on the verge of breaking Gretzky's 50 goals in 39 games record, because of if you learn how to perfect the slap shot system, and you have somebody that has a really good slap shot accuracy, not even hard slap shot, just accuracy, you can rack up a lot of goals from the blue line. So that's been fun, just to break that. I've been having fun breaking games, if you haven't noticed.
I mean, that's part of the fun, right?
Yeah. And then I think I finished up Bugs, Amagon, and Mighty Bomb Jack. All those games except Mighty Bomb Jack has something a little to it, and it's because it's structured like an arcade game, where you could dive back in. If you do things a little differently, you can progress further in the game. It's very, very much an arcade game. Trying to get your quarters. But Amagon annoyed me by the end. The music was sending me close to a mental breakdown.
That was pretty grating on the ears.
Yeah, and Bugs Bunny might have been the easiest game I've ever played in my life.
It's a baby game for babies.
Yeah, exactly. And once we got those 50 lives on the one bingo spin, it was over. That is still one of the most infuriating yet funny moments is when I got that 50 lives and then realized that I had to sit there while it counted each live individually. Like,
Yep.
And it took like 30 to 45 seconds to just go 1, 2, like probably literally a minute, because it probably took 1 life per second to pop up. So I finished those 3. The only other things I've been really messing around with, we've been trying to beat Jaws for 2 weeks. I keep getting to the very end of Jaws and cannot line up the boat thing to stab Jaws to end the game.
Yeah, I've noticed you're having a little trouble with that.
It's the most frustrating game in the world, because it's a game that you can beat in 10 minutes. And for those of you young kids out there, this was a full-priced game in 1987. That $60, $70, like equivalent of like $90 nowadays.
This is why game rentals went away. Games like this.
Yeah, this is why game rentals became a thing.
It's a double-edged sword, right? Because people figured out that you could rent a game and beat it in a night.
Yeah.
Instead of shelling out $80 or whatever it was at the time because of the chip shortage.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just ridiculous. But this is one of the more egregious ones. I think Strider might be the worst of it. I think you can beat that in an hour, and that was like $90 or something.
Yeah, that was bad too.
Yeah, Strider's real bad. This one is just licensed garbage. So I've been trying to beat that. And then the other thing I did, NBA 2K25 is free. So I downloaded it. Haven't done much in it. I don't know if I'll do much in it. But all I did was load it up, started a game as the Indiana Fever, and just started launching logo threes with Caitlin Clark for an entire quarter.
As you do.
As you do. It was fun. I think I shot 40%.
I mean, that's still pretty good.
That's still really good. Yeah. But it was funny. The game kept cutting to my coach and the crowd just shaking their head every time I would just launch and miss a 3. It was pretty funny. I think they cut to like Tyrese Halliburton. For those of you who watch the NBA, that's the Indiana Pacers star player. You know, the NBA affiliate for WNBA, for the Fever. And they would just cut to him in the stands for some reason, just being disappointed. It was a funny game that I played. So I've been messing around with that. I think that's about it outside of the game that we're going to talk about later. Yeah, just been chilling, because I'm going to probably have another long 60 to 80 hour game experience coming up at the end of the month, with Death Stranding 2, which we will talk about my initial experiences in it on the next edition of this podcast.
I'm looking forward to that. As for me, I have been playing Kingdom Hearts 2. Nice. Why? I don't know. I just felt like playing it.
I feel like I said this before to you. I feel like that when I start playing Road Rash 2, it's the same thing. I'm playing Road Rash 2 again. Why? I have no idea. I just playing Road Rash 2.
Maybe I got excited thinking like, oh, maybe they'll announce something about KH4, and I put my clown makeup on when they did the Sony press conference. But we'll get to that later. I don't know. I never beat it on the PS4. I've beat it on the PS3 and the PS2. So I'm playing the PS4 version on my PS5. And I forgot how much stuff there is to do in that game. Right now, I'm at the end of the game. I could go and beat the game right now, but I'm doing all the side stuff that I usually never do. Like I'm leveling up all the different drive forms. I'm probably going to try to get the ultimate weapon. I might try beating Sephiroth. Maybe not, because you need to be like level 99 to do that. Yeah. And I think I'm at level like 70, and it would take forever to grind that. But yeah, that's really mostly what I've been playing, because it's kind of mindless what I'm doing, because I'm just like grinding stuff. So it's been an easy like pick up and play and not have to worry about it. But I've reached the point in the game where I'm like, you're at the final dungeon basically, and it's the point of no return. And I'm going and doing all the other stuff while the point of no return waits.
Yeah, or heartless, as some would say.
Yes. So this game's nobody's, Mark.
Yeah, nobody's.
Let's yeah. I mean, if Square or Nomura wasn't the greatest at naming things, nobody's and Heartless. Hey, what are you gonna do?
He's almost as good as a certain wizard Arthur that we shall not name.
But yeah, once I finish that, my plan is to play Expedition 33 because I need to play it before the end of the year because it's obviously up there in Game of the Year stuff. And I need to get back to Indiana Jones because I really do want to get through that, even though we discussed this previously that my brain does not work the right way for that game. So I'm thinking I might just go through the regular story and maybe go back and do stuff later if I really want to.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where I'm at right now. I'm at end game for Kingdom Hearts 2. I need to go through the Cave of Remembrance.
Okay.
Which the Cave of Remembrance is like this side thing that they added in Final Mix, which was like the where they added a whole bunch of extra stuff and more bosses and stuff. But they have the Cave of Remembrance is like an obstacle course, and it has a ton of enemies in it and a bunch of special items and stuff that drop. So I need to go through that. I'm gonna probably finish grinding out the drive forms. I think I have 1 or 2 left, and then from there, I'll finish it and move on to some other stuff, some current stuff because we need to worry about some of the current stuff too here. We have Game of the Year podcast, which I got to be ready for. It may only have 2 games on it, but that's fine.
Yeah. It's just as long as you touch at some of the newer games.
I mean, and we're not buying Switches, so
yeah. Well, so we only have Mario Kart to talk about anyway,
right? And I don't think that would be on Game of the Year list anyway. So
yeah,
judging by what I've seen, which maybe this will be a topic for next month, but I'm not impressed so far.
We're gonna play some Mind's Eye. Make sure that is on the Game of the Year.
All right.
Boy. Yeah.
All right. So that's going to wrap up our what have we been playing, and whatever you guys have been playing, let us know on social media. We're on Threads and we're on Blue Sky. So hit us up there at Game Vault Pod.
Yep.
So Mark is going to lead us into all of the Summer Game Fest stuff.
Yeah. So essentially the news section from when we used to break down news weekly or bi-weekly, I guess. I will lead this. First off, if you go to our YouTube channel, I watched and talked over all of these press conferences we're going to be talking about, so you can see my initial reaction to everything. And I also did a full deep wrap-up of every single game that was announced in these 3 shows. So you can go there if you want to see those 4 podcasts so that you can get a full breakdown. But here, we're just going to talk about specific ones that we're interested in, deep dive a little bit into our thoughts on it. Maybe if we share a game we like, we can have a discussion back and forth. But I think we're going to start it off with, there's 2 games right here on my list from Sony's State of Play that I think we need to talk about. One specifically for me.
Okay.
I don't know where Tom stands on it, but we'll start off with that one. I was very pleased with what I've seen this whole week from different trailers, playthroughs, things like that, of 007 First Light from IO Interactive.
Absolutely. It finally looks like they understand what James Bond is.
Yeah. And one of the main things from this is that they have been given permission to not tie it to any of the canon.
Which is wild, right? Because the reason that like GoldenEye has been held up for so long is because it's tied to that franchise. So making its own thing not tied to a movie is brilliant because they don't have to worry about, does this match up with the storyline from this movie that's upcoming? Whatever. It's nice to see. And
also what it pretty much does for those of us, as I've revealed on both the press conference or the State of Play and on Sunday, I'm a huge James Bond fan. I've seen all the movies that have come out, some more than others. Obviously, there are some real stinkers in there. But the thing I love about this is I feel this is the right way to do a James Bond game. Is they're literally just starting them from the beginning, kind of a little bit earlier than Casino Royale does in the movies. He's still a British Navy officer, or whatever. I forget what his official thing is, because it doesn't come up much in the movies because he's an agent by that point. So it's basically following him through his first foray into being high-level MI6. I hope they do show you getting your 00 status, which I
think that's like the whole first part of the game, it seemed like.
Yeah, because you have to get, it's like the opening of Casino Royale. You got to have 2 confirmed kills to get 00 status, and then you get your license to kill from there on out. So I hope the opening mission, the tutorial, is you getting your 00 status. I think that would be a great way to start it. Even if the game flashes back for things. But
yeah. So real quick, so the people who are doing this game previously did all the Hitman games, that
yes.
or the more recent Hitman games, correct?
Yep. The World of Assassination games. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you watch the trailers and all that, you see a lot of the influence of Hitman. In terms of the animations, the methods by which you can take people out. The only difference is this isn't like, you're not getting graded on how you kill people, which is kind of what they do in Hitman. But you can still do some, funky stuff. I don't think you can hit someone in the head with a Dr. Pepper can and then go in and choke them out, or stuff like that. Yeah. But I feel that part of the game that might make this a little polarizing from what I've seen is that IO's got a very distinctive look and graphics quality to it, or animation quality, that I think most people will be a little disappointed by for a licensed game like this. But I think it's more important for the game to work within that Hitman engine, and the way they do that than actually look, like top of the line graphics wise. I don't know if you got that same vibe watching the trailer.
Yeah. I mean, it's not the highest quality of models, but it's got to work right. It's got to be. I feel like these are the perfect people to have a James Bond game, because they understand what James Bond is and aren't trying to just make it a first-person shooter or a third-person shooter. It's actually like a spy game.
Yeah, action stealth. Now, all that.
Right, spy, stealth. Assassinations. I imagine there's going to be dialogue trees and stuff where things matter what you say, but that we'll be seeing that later, I would imagine. But I did want to ask, are we seeing, or is it taking place in modern times, or is it a flashback?
I think it's modern times.
Okay, so that's interesting.
Yeah, because since they're not doing it in canon, they don't have to worry about having anybody like from the previous, like they'll have the character names. Yeah. Like there's Mother, who's M, is the leader of MI6. You obviously see Q, who just looks like Ted Danson. And then you have Moneypenny, even though they don't introduce who she is. It's obviously Moneypenny. The girl that walks him in after he does his first James Bond, to the front desk. They're allowed to have these characters. Apparently 009 or something. I feel like there's going to be a double cross agent.
They mentioned 009 in the trailer.
Yeah, which is always fun. That's one of the fun parts about GoldenEye is Janice 006, played by one Sean Bean. It turns out to be a double cross. Spoilers for a 30-year-old movie. Endgame. But it seems like maybe that's how he gets into the double, is because they have to take out this rogue 00 agent. But yeah, starting at the very beginning is great, because then you can just, obviously the Bond girl in this is going to die, most likely. as they all do, so that you don't have the fiction shattering thing of all these women that he leaves with on good terms, but you never see again.
Yeah.
So they always end up either leaving of their own accord and not still connected to him, or dead. So I'm interested to see what they do here, because apparently I feel like it's going to be like Casino Royale with Vesper Lynn, where he's going to mistakenly like fall for this girl, and she's just going to be using him. Again, spoilers for a 20-year-old movie. I just love it. And the other thing to mention before we move on to our next game, because we could just keep talking about each of these individual games and be here forever, is that if you have a Hitman Assassination, World of Assassination, currently there is a month-long contract to kill Le Chiffre, which is the Mads Mikkelsen character from Casino Royale. So a fun little blend of 00 and Hitman there. And the character
Mads Mikkelsen.
Yes. Might be the one of the few people that I can say is a good example of showing you the difference between like hot and sexy, in the sense that he wouldn't win a 10 out of 10 like modeling contest, but you're like, damn, I either want to be him or, one of those things. Just when he's on stage, just like, damn, like charisma, sort of like, because he walks on that stage and it's just like he instantly just overtakes it and makes the other two look like complete idiots as he's standing there talking. And it's just funny. It happens in wrestling sometimes too, and in some TV shows somebody just walks on screen and you're just like, yep, that's I don't know what that is, but that's it. And he had that when he came on here, so he is voicing the character. So, and real quick thing, I didn't really dive. I'm thinking what he means by this. He says it's one of the most important characters of his career. I think it's just like his big break. I didn't go check his IMDb or anything after that to see, but I feel like that's why he feels a real connection to this character. So if you have World of Assassination, go ahead and jump on this. It's not the same as killing Gary Busey, which was one that happened like 5 years ago. But it is a fun, because they're definitely going to have, I guarantee you the James Bond music sting is going to be in this contract. So moving on, Tom.
Yes.
A game I'm very excited about, despite the fact that I'm absolutely awful at the type of game it is. Only because I have a great appreciation for who's making it, and the trailer just kicked ass. I'm talking about Marvel took on Fighting Souls, the new 4v4 fighting game from Arc System Works. For those of you out there, those are those of you from the FGC would know them best of the creators of Guilty Gear, which is a very stylish fighting game. I believe they did one of the Dragon Ball games that came out. One of the Dragon Ball fighting games.
They did Fighters.
Yeah.
Which is an awesome game.
Yeah. Right. And I've loved everything. Like, I played Guilty Gear and I'm terrible at it, but I just love the animation and just the work they do with that. And if I had the time to sit down and learn a game, it would definitely be an Arc Systems game. So maybe Fighting Souls will do it. Because the one thing, and I hope you agree with me, I am playing this game in Japanese. Like,
yeah, it's 100%. One of those games where it doesn't make sense to play it in English.
Like, it made it seem so much more badass.
Yeah, I might try both, but the Iron Man suit that they use looks so like a Japanese made Iron Man suit.
Yeah, Arc basically, from what I remember from the interviews, Arc basically came to them and basically said they wanted to add, some Gundam look to him.
Oh, he totally looks like a Gundam.
Yeah, and Marvel was like, sure,
I can't believe they were like, yeah, go ahead, do whatever you want to do.
And then they show him the designer, like, we made the right fucking choice. Yeah, it's just, I don't know what your history is with fighting games. My main history, and it's another game we'll talk about later, in the show. But I was in the era of Street Fighter 2, Mortal Kombat 2, and all that. Learned how to play those games. Weren't good at them, but I at least knew how to play them.
I was there in the arcade trying to play Mortal Kombat 2, get my ass whooped by everybody.
Yeah. Like that was the last time I was actually decent at a fighting game. Probably Street Fighter 2 Turbo was probably the one I was actually pretty decent at. But I've been awful ever since. But every time I get a chance to play a fighting game, I will.
The last one I was any good at, I think, was MVC 2. That was the last one.
Yeah, so I will definitely be picking this up and trying it. For sure.
I'm hoping that there's more characters.
Oh yeah, they're still announcing. Yeah,
they showed off a bunch, but I haven't seen Wolverine. I haven't seen Deadpool.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Thanos. Like, there's a bunch of characters that have not been shown that I really hope are in it.
Yeah,
but they they might scale it back. I don't know, or they may not make that.
Well, no, they got it. They got to scale this up, Tom. Because if I didn't mention before, I think I did in my opening. It is a 4v4 fighting game.
It's a tag team game.
Yeah, so normally it's 2v2 and some 3v3s. Making it 4v4 means you need to have a big roster, which Marvel has a big roster.
I mean, they've got a million characters. The fact that they picked the Robbie Reyes Ghost Rider instead of the other Ghost Rider, that tells you right there that they've got a ton of characters that they're going to use.
Yeah, and I think the Arc Systems guy said that they still have characters to announce and all that.
Well, yeah, they didn't announce very many, so I would hope that there's a lot left. Like, I'm sure they're going to put like half of the X-Men or all of the X-Men in it. I'm sure they're going to put a bunch of characters that are in the new the new movies and shows and stuff. We'll see. I imagine you'll see Winter Soldier, all the typical stuff. But I'm excited. I'm ready to see a new Marvel fighting game because it's been a long time.
Yeah, I was surprised at the internet reaction with some people being upset it wasn't Capcom. And then I said, "Have you played an Arc System Works game?"
Yeah. Clearly, they don't realize what they're talking about.
Yeah. Well, I get it. They wanted MVC.
I know they want MVC. They want another MVC, but you gotta let them do the thing, right? Yeah. Arc System Works has put out possibly one of the best fighters of the last decade in Dragon Ball FighterZ. So I would hope they know what they're doing here. Exactly.
And I am not surprised that Sony ended up getting together with both Marvel and Arc System Works because for those of you who don't know out there, Sony owns Evo now, which is the big fighting game tournament every year. So I'm sure Fighting Souls is going to be the final game going forward because it's usually like a Street Fighter or I think MVC 2 might have been at some point. But, this is definitely setting up to be the game to close Evo.
Yeah, it's if it's half as good as it looks, it'll be that one.
Yeah. And I love the thing. Yeah, my final thoughts. I love the idea that it allows you to play the tag game as you want to. Like, you don't need to learn 4 characters. You can set it up so it's just you have a main and then 3 assists that you know how to use. Or you can have it so you can swap people in because you want to learn all 4. It gives you options. You're not forced to do anything, which is really good. So next up is a game I'm sure we're both excited about, Tom. It's a game I am very... I've gone down a little bit. So I'm sure you know the one I skipped if we're reading the same list. It's a disappointing game. This is one that not disappointing game. I'm disappointed that I didn't play as much of this game when it first came out. But they are remastering Final Fantasy Tactics.
Yes.
And
it looks incredible.
Yeah, looks great. Part of me prefers the classic look, to be honest.
Yeah, real quick. So it seems like Square is finally listening to the fans.
Yeah.
People just wanted the ability to play the old game on a new console. That's all they were looking for, because I don't think it was on anything for the longest time. So the fact that they have that classic version that has everything original is what people have been asking for. And then they had the enhanced version, which is, got voice acting and everything else.
So the line here is the classic version will unite the graphics and gameplay of the 1997 version with the renowned War of the Lions translation, which to be honest, I'm embarrassed. I don't know that.
So,
and it says, but it will also include an autosave now.
Well, which is nice, but a lot of translations from Square in the 90s, if you've played any RPGs from them in that era, left a little to be desired, because generally it was like one dude doing the translation. So the War of Lions translation, I think, was a fan translation, and it's amazing that they're using stuff like that for, their own games, seeing how it's, better than their own translation. So hats off to Square for that one.
Yeah, and it is the biggest hole in my, second biggest hole, because I have not beaten FF5 yet, which is probably the biggest hole, because that's probably the only top 5 Final Fantasy game on a lot of people's list that I have not beaten. Well, no, 4 probably, but this one,
5's up there too, but 4's probably higher up.
Yeah, I just thought about that. Yeah, but this is one that is a big giant hole in my Final Fantasy backlog. I played a little bit as a kid, did not understand it.
That's the thing. Like, tactics RPGs are totally different than a standard turn-based RPG.
Yeah.
And now that we've gone through and played a whole bunch of D&D, they make a whole lot more sense.
Yeah, and also I played a lot of Fire Emblem and stuff like that.
Right.
The main thing was, because I was literally at the time when this released in 97, I was coming off playing my first 2 ever RPGs, and they were Final Fantasy VII and Super Mario RPG. So this thing was completely wild to me and incomprehensible. I'd never seen a tactics game or even heard of D&D short of my cousin had the red box in his closet. But had no idea what it meant. But yeah, I'm really glad this came out for 2 reasons. One, I'm going to play it 100% for sure. And 2, that leaves, I believe, from that leak, that only leaves the Final Fantasy IX remake left that has not been released from that leak a few years ago.
Which, if it's a full blown like re-release, like, or a remake, we still probably got a little time. I'm guessing next year before we see anything.
Yeah, and people are like, "Well, it makes no sense. They're still doing 7." I'm like, people like that also don't know the history of Final Fantasy and why specifically 9 would be being co-created at the same time as 7. The end of the 7, because that's essentially 7 and 8 and 9 is where like the split happened.
Right, they had 3 different teams working on 7, 8, 9 at the same time.
Yeah, it's 7 was sort of like them kind of together. 8 was basically Sakaguchi, I believe it is. It told Kitase, go make your game with human proportioned characters. Yeah, we'll see how that does. And then he went and made 9
with his chibi characters
in a diorama.
In the, dioramas, right?
Yeah. So that's why I'm not shocked that 9 is the next one on the list, because he says that's his best game he's ever made. So it's not a shock to me they would remake that one. So I could see him having a completely different team. I'm watching the State of the Art guys because they're doing 9 now. Mentioned that
I was debating playing along with it, by the way.
Yeah.
I might do it.
He basically, Sakaguchi made them create the game in Hawaii, which ran up a bunch of money for Sony, or Square, I should say. Moving an entire building an entire game studio in a foreign country, just because the game had to be made in Hawaii, according to him.
He had to be in the zone.
Yeah, so that's why I'm not shocked that if that 9 would follow right on the heels of 7. I don't think we'll ever see an 8 remake. Besides the fact that it would be wild. I
don't think it would be it wouldn't be to the level of 7. That's for sure.
No. 9. I could see Sakaguchi wanting 9 to get the same treatment as 7. But yeah. And I'm a fan. 9 is one of my favorite. Which is why I'm probably between playing 9 and then playing Expedition 33. I can hear Night Duck just saying, "You got to play Phantasia," in the back of my head, because I feel like I would love that game, because it brings together everything that I love in turn-based stuff. But yeah, circling back from that tangent, I am excited for Tactics just because I feel that it needs to get its due to a wider audience than it has, because I feel it was way underappreciated in 1997.
Yeah, it was kind of a cult classic, I feel like.
Yeah. All right. Moving on. We won't talk much about this, but we will get a report at some point about Neo 3 from Night Duck.
Yes, we will.
Night Duck is our Neo 3 correspondent. He is already excited after playing the demo. So, looking forward to that. I don't know how much of a Metal Gear person you are. I'm excited for Delta, because 3 might be my favorite game of the series. And it shows it's already going to be goofy, but I don't think we need to deep dive too much there. I don't know what your level of excitement is.
I mean, I really need to get back into the Metal Gear series. I've never beaten all of them. Like, I've gotten most of the way through 1, but I've never beaten all of them. So I would like to do that. And Snake Eater Delta looks like it's going to be awesome.
Yeah. So just a few more games here on the PlayStation side. I'm sure you're excited about the new Astrobot levels that are coming out.
Yes.
Yeah.
I still need to beat Astrobot, but yeah, I'm excited to have more levels.
One that we jump in for just a little bit, Pragmata. So I don't know if you saw any of the other reporting that's been going on since the trailer, and how wild this game is. In terms of, have you seen any of it before I go into a deep dive explaining it?
Not a whole lot.
No. Okay. So essentially how the game works is, you see in the trailer, she hacks the enemies. The little girl, Diana. She's on your back and she hacks the enemies. What people found out was, hacking the enemies is a mini game that you're doing, like the connecting pipes game. You know what I'm talking about? You have to do sort of a similar game like that. But while you're doing that, the battle is still going on. So you have to be dodging, and you can't damage the enemy until you've hacked them. So you're not actually doing anything by shooting them, but you're still also involved in the battle while doing this hacking mini game on the side. So everybody I've seen play it or heard play it says it sounds weird, but it's amazing. In how engaging it is while doing it. They're like, I don't know how it would play over a full game, or how annoying Diana gets, but they said when you're told what the game is, you're a lot more skeptical until you actually start playing it. So I don't know if you had any interest in this. I would definitely check it out if it falls during a time period when nothing else is coming out in 2026.
Yeah, if there's a demo, I'd check it out. But
yeah,
it didn't. Apparently it's one of those games that has been on the shelf for 2 years.
Yeah, it's supposed to come out in 2022.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that it's finally coming out.
Yeah. So final 2 things here from State of Play. I'll do them in opposite order of how they are in the IGN story. Here, Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection. I am 100% picking this up. It's the Digital Eclipse people. The Atari 50 and Tetris Forever stuff is amazing for all the behind the scenes documentary stuff in there. And this will have it as well from what we've seen. So I'm picking it up for that reason. And 2, having to have all the Mortal Kombat games in one place, kind of like the Street Fighter thing that I have too, is much better than trying to find it or piece it together outside of emulation, obviously. But meaning how Nintendo has only some of the Street Fighters, on their thing. I'll have a ton of fun going back and playing Mortal Kombat 2 with this. But I am looking forward to this, and probably a day one purchase, just because of the documentary side of this game.
Yeah, it's pretty cool that they're putting it all together. It's about time. I'm surprised it's taken this long.
Yeah, I'm sure it takes a while to do the documentary part. Obviously, neither of us are documentary filmmakers, so we don't know how that takes. But just to let you know, the games that have been announced, and it's going to be more than this. It's going to be Mortal Kombat 2, Mortal Kombat 3, Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, Mortal Kombat 4, Mortal Kombat Advanced, Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance, and Mortal Kombat Tournament Edition. I believe one of those is definitely a GBA game. I don't think you can guess which one, Tom. And I believe the other one is a Game Boy game. In there.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's Mortal Kombat Tournament Edition is the Game Boy game. I had the Game Boy game, and I had the Game Gear game too. Oh, the Game Gear game is terrible.
Game Boy fighting games are rough, especially Mortal Kombat. Yeah. I had Killer Instinct, I think, for the Game Boy, which was surprisingly decent. But yeah, the Mortal Kombat game was horrendous.
Yeah, and even worse on the Game Gear, as most things are. Yeah, so that's the Mortal Kombat collection. And then the other really weird game, I don't know where you land on Suda51, Tom, but I don't know. I just want to play this because it just seems so ridiculous. I'm talking about Romeo is a Dead Man.
Yeah, I don't know what. Like, I watched that, and I don't know what the hell I watched.
Suda, oh man, Suda's amazing. There is, outside of certain things that Kojima does with his games, there is not another creator on the planet. In all seriousness, I mean, we can make jokes about Nomura and belts, but I don't think there's a guy where, as soon as this game switched from that weird cartoon aesthetic to the actual game, I went immediately. I was like, "It's a Suda," like immediately. I'm like, "Yeah." And then, the Grasshopper manufacturer logo pops up. And if you watch the stream, I did a lot of times when I'm not saying things, it's because I don't want to say what's in my head and turn out to be wrong. Like when I said Silent Hill was a Capcom game or something like that.
Oh yeah.
Jonathan went, "Isn't it Konami?" So a lot of times I stay quiet when I'm unsure, but I was like immediately, I'm like, this has to be a Suda game. Like, this is the style. It's way too stylish to not be him, but I am excited for it. And coming out in 2026. The best part, there's two great parts of when Suda shows up in this press conference. First off, he does the professional wrestling thing after he announces himself, where he goes, he does that, which God bless him. And then he also says, "You might be wondering, why is Romeo a dead man?" And you're like,
we would love to know.
I was like, I think the trailer showed me. His grandfather stabbed a thing in his eye. Like, I don't know where the mystery is.
Well, no, he was about to die, and that thing made him not. I don't know. It's very bizarre.
But I was just the way Suda asked the question. I'm like, I'm pretty sure you explained that in the trailer. I don't know if you recorded this before knowing which trailer you were putting out there. And my other favorite part is how much he makes you believe that the name Romeo Stargazer is a cool name. He's like, so you play as Romeo Stargazer. That's a cool name, huh? And I'm like, hell yeah, it is, Suda. So I'm looking forward to this. Grasshopper manufactures Romeo is a dead man. Yeah. So just to read the final sentence in this IGN story. The game stars Romeo Stargazer, and he is stuck between life and death. He is working as an FBI space-time special agent, Deadman, and must hunt space-time's most wanted fugitives through multiple universes. So, very straightforward plot.
Yeah, totally. Not confusing at all.
Oh, man. I can't wait for this game. All right, so that was the state of play. I think it's the most 7 out of 10 State of Play. No huge announcements, but a lot of solid games coming through it.
Like I mentioned, every time you go into the Kingdom Hearts subreddit, there was like, is this going to be the one? Is this going to be the one? And it never is.
Yeah. This one, to be honest, this one might have had the best closer of the three we watched. The Marvel fighting game.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the Sony one had the most. I don't know. Xbox was pretty good too, but
yeah, I mean, and to let you know, RE9 in Summer Games Fest, yes, great, but like we had an inkling that would be coming at some point.
Yeah,
Battle Souls, Fighting Souls just came out of nowhere.
Yeah, nobody saw that coming.
It's just like I'm like that's a like it. We'll get to it at the end of talking about all the games because I have a thought about this about the thought process of the three games that ended these shows. So moving on, we're Summer Games Fest. This was the 2-hour show hosted by Jeff Keighley. And we'll just start off Resident Evil 9, Resident Evil Requiem. Obviously a game Tom is going to stream.
100%. I'll be there. You be there too. Uh-huh.
Was the closer. They did a really great thing where they teased it earlier in the show. That not that it was going to be there, but that they were going to announce stuff later because it's the 30th anniversary of Resident Evil in March of next year. So it was like, oh man, is that all they're going to do is tease here? And in your head, you're like, well, they're a Japanese studio, so maybe TGS is where they'll announce, the thing. And then, they said a blink of an eye, and 20 minutes later, this trailer drops. And one of the funny parts I love about it is the different people who picked up on that it was an RE game before I did. I didn't get it until the obvious smack in the face when they show you the front of the RPD. It was like somebody was like, "Oh, that blonde hair, that's Capcom hair. That's 100%. This is RE9." And I'm like, I don't think I ever noticed that their blonde hair stood out. And then I watched the video of them comparing all the blondes, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's a very distinctive blonde hair on on all of these characters, like just that color specifically. So RE9's coming. It's called just like Village. It's got a different name.
Before we get too far away from it, can I just say I'm sick of horror games. Like every game that got announced at SGF was, I felt like it was all horror based games. Yeah. Even if it wasn't technically a horror game, it was like horror adjacent. Everything is just so gory and just so like, oh, we got to scare you. Like, just give me something fun.
Yeah.
It just like I don't know, like Dying Light 2 or 3 was there, and you got all this other stuff. Just give me Scott Pilgrim, and I'm happy. Yeah,
exactly. Like, I'm a little more a fan of horror games and the games that you were talking about than you are. But the thing I noticed with Summer Games Fest is that very much it didn't have as much variety as you'd want it to have. But that made the variety, like the ones that were not either horror games or Souls-likes, stand out. And we'll get to a couple of those later. But I think amongst the horror games, RE9 was the one that stood out for me. I may have a different opinion as we go through this list and I kind of remember games because it's been a long week. But yeah, so RE9's official. And we have our second game from correspondent Night Duck for Lies of P's Overture. He says that I should be able to play Lies of P's now because he jokingly said this, but I know what he meant. He was like, because they put it in easier mode. And what he meant was they put in like a level between super easy and normal to sort of play that. But yeah, it was funny. You mentioned Dying Light, a series I wish I got into more. My one game that I want to dive deep and figure out what the hell's going on with it is the Wu-Tang Rise of the Deceiver.
So I feel like a lot of these games now are looking very Hades-like.
Yeah, that's the Hades and Souls. Yeah. What's the name? like Bloodborne and Elden Ring-esque, you know, a lot of that stuff. But this, I just want to see what the Wu-Tang involvement is in this. That's it.
Wu-Tang they like their video game, so I wouldn't be surprised if they
and
had something good here.
Yeah, and very much a samurai. Like they love Japanese culture, so konnichiwa bitches. The Animusha, and then we have Game of Thrones War for Westeros, which is special correspondent Bat Dan will report back on that game for us.
That's an RTS, correct?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm just going to quick through mention games that we should mention, even if we're not going to talk about them. Arc Raiders had a good preview, had a giant enemy crab.
Of course it did.
Yeah. So, but that's good to see that that's moving forward. We already mentioned Matt Mikkelsen. And then our next game to dive deep into, you had brought it up. One of the special games that just stood out here, they're making a new Scott Pilgrim game. Scott Pilgrim EX.
I'm so happy. Like, this is the kind of stuff we need. We need more stuff that I just feel like everything is, I don't know what it is. There was a lot of stuff in the State of Play. There's a lot of stuff in SGF. It was just all like horror-esque, horror-based. There's not a whole lot of lighthearted or even just bright and colorful games. And I feel like Scott Pilgrim is going to be just the thing we need. Yeah.
Yeah. And Brian Lee O'Malley is back on board, the original writer. And as we had a discussion with Night Duck about, I believe it was Night Duck in the chat, was that I was like a lot of people that came to Scott Pilgrim, the graphic novels, after the movie. And I became a books are better than the movie kind of person. Only because the movie was finished before the books were finished. So they have like two completely different endings in there. So I'm wondering, this whole new, don't have the game, don't have books or movies or anything, what this will be like. It looks like you have Scott and Ramona, and then I think you're going to have the Evil X's are going to be the other playable characters as they fight back against the vegans, the demons, and the robots, I think, with 3 factions that have taken over Toronto.
Yeah.
So this is coming out. I would imagine this could be a Game Pass game, which I would be totally excited about.
Yeah, that would be nice.
All right. I think Killer Inn is going to be a fun stream game to watch. That's the Among Us type murder mystery game.
When people saw the Square logo come up and then that happened, they were pissed. Just a heads up.
Oh, that was amazing. But I think it's going to be a good stream game after people forget about that in SGF. It'll be fun. Death Stranding on the beach. Death Stranding 2 on the beach. I could talk about forever. I watched the entire game preview that they did afterwards. We're going to be playing a lot of it, so we don't need to strand more here. But somebody made the statement that the game is unspoilable. Like, you could mention something happens in the game and nobody would believe you. And I 100% agree with that.
I could see that. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, they were explaining, like, the little puppet on you, when you're out in battle, you can throw him in the air and he's like a drone. And I'm like, sure. Sure.
Yeah, honestly, anything can happen in a Kojima game. Literally anything.
Yeah. That's every time I heard people, I was getting worried about being spoiled with how much they were talking about the people that played like 30, 40 hours of it at Kojima headquarters. And every time I was like, wait, but I have no context for this. It just sounds like a fever dream. And I'm like, nothing they said, I was like, because I personally like Kojima stuff. I don't have the ant reaction of go fuck yourself when something comes up. I just go, oh, sure. Yeah, that sounds perfectly reasonable.
Well, it's one of those things you it's like a first 10 minutes thing.
Yeah. When
you're watching like a weird movie, you're either 100% in or you're F this, I'm out.
Yeah.
And you guys are just on each end of the spectrum on that.
Yeah. And then the next 2 games sort of blend together 2 things. One thing you were talking about, and one thing that at least the Summer Games Fest did for a lot happened. So Stranger Than Heaven, which is the official name for the Project Century game, looks amazing. It's, RGG, that Yakuza background, Judgment. I am excited. They originally showed as Project Sentry a guy walking around in 1915 Japan, and then this trailer is 1943 Japan. So the rumors of it being following somebody through 100 years, it seems to be where this game is going, and I am in for it. It looks spectacular, and I love that sounds like they're going to try and stay historically relevant in terms of what was going on at the time, just from the sheer fact that the white character that walks up to him uses the word Jap in there. And I'm like, oh, okay, they're not going to shy away from this being 1943,
Yeah, I mean, it seems like they're going to follow that to as much as they can.
Yeah, it feels like it's going to be set in our world and not just some alternate history or something. And then the one you mentioned with a bunch of Hades-like stuff is my favorite one of the day, which was Toa and the Guardians of the Sacred Tree. Only because I want to play as a koi fish. I want to play as a koi fish barbarian, it looks like, or monk. I couldn't really tell by the garb, but I am in if I can play as the koi fish.
Which I'm sure you can.
Yeah, so it was, and it also actually did look like the best of the Hades likes there. And then my favorite, most exciting moment, if you take away all the major stuff, was they announced that in Sonic Racing Crossroads, they are going to branch out from Sonic-themed characters, like the world of Sonic, because I was getting a little nervous.
I was not expecting that at all.
I was hoping, because my second favorite kart racer, maybe a little bit of a hot take, but my second favorite one is Sonic and Sega All-Stars Transformed. It's really good. It's probably as close as any kart racer has gotten to being on the level of Mario Kart. But I was afraid they were just going to stay in the Sonic universe here. But then they showed Hatsune Miku, which fine. But then as the wrestling terminology, I popped for the next two, being Ichiban from Like a Dragon and Joker from Persona 5. I'm like, okay, they're going to do some new school Sega stuff, and not just give us like Nights into Dreams person again in this game. Hopefully they have a really weird, they also announced Minecraft Steve as well. I hope they have a really weird character, like how in Racing Transformed, Danica Patrick is in it.
Yeah, that's a weird tie-in.
At the time, she was huge, so it made sense. So I'm waiting to see who the weird human character is in this game. And by human, I mean real life character, because obviously Joker is technically a human. But yeah, so I was excited by that. I'm trying to see what else, because like you said, a lot of the things here I have some mild opinions on, and you have zero opinion on because it's horror or gross.
You're catching on, Mark.
Yeah, I think the last two games to really talk about, Atomic Heart 2 looked really fun. Looks like it's a completely different tone shift from what I played of Atomic Heart. Like retro futuristic Communism 1 game, like Soviet set game. So that looks really fun. But I was really intrigued by the Cube, which is I guess it's like an MO. It's like Destiny.
It's a Destiny-like. It's an FPS MMORPG, which is exactly what Destiny is.
And the reason is I like the concept of the cube being a thing that the world changes. Like you can get different combinations. And I don't know if they move during gameplay or if every time you load in, the map can be completely different, which seems kind of fun to me.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. And then finally, the one that's also taking a thing from Hazelight Studios, Lego Voyagers, doing a 2-player co-op adventure that you can you get a friend's pass with, just like all the Hazelight games do. Very much goes on that list of me and Roxy games to play.
Yep, you've got a couple now.
Yeah. It looks like the kid version of, Split Fiction, and those type of games. So I'm glad. It's good to get some of the young kids be able to play with their friends, even if they, both can't afford the game.
Yep.
And yeah, that's it really. The only things we really skipped over was Mortal Shell 2, which looks much, much better than the first game. So outside of that, this was a little bit until the whole middle of the show was real slow to me. Like, they don't even mention the game that made me most mad, that nobody is obviously going to play, which is the Deadpool MetaQuest exclusive VR game.
Well, that's because as soon as they showed VR, everybody tuned out. Everybody stopped paying attention.
Yeah, and then also the guy doing his best Ryan Reynolds impression, because that was not Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, I'm sure it wasn't.
Doing the voice. And yeah, that game is disappointing. I think the worst part is if you're going to make a joke about Silksong, Hollow Knight Silksong, you better arrive with a banger trailer.
Yeah.
And not just one whose only goal is to get everybody copyright strikes. Maybe that's the backwards Deadpool thing. He was trying to get everyone copyright strike. Whatever. But yeah, that was SGF. The event was well done. They finally decided, despite the fact that the other people he's had on there as co-hosts have been fine, like they've been going upward trajectory, getting a veteran like Lucy James to be the co-host made the show flow great and didn't feel like it was missing something when Jeff wasn't on screen.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, and that can also be because I'm a huge Lucy James fan. That I, it's like, yeah, she's awesome in, doing all those presentations. And I don't know why she has not been asked to do stuff like this more often.
Yeah, you definitely need a break from Jeff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, and no shoes that he had on. All right, so moving on to Xbox. Again, preface it by saying if you are participating in it, BDS has said to boycott, everything Microsoft, which includes Xbox Game Pass, Xbox, Copilot 365, all that stuff. So obviously, if you're participating in that, feel free to either, tune out for a little bit here, or, don't worry about that. But I think we had to cover this, and we might be doing an alternate to news stuff going forward, because it's going to be kind of hard to just completely ignore Xbox. I'll just probably keep the disclaimer at the beginning of the first time I mention a Microsoft story. So anyway, yeah.
I would like to lead off talking about the hardware. First of all, Xbox, you still can't learn. You still don't know how to name anything. Nothing at all. They announced a handheld device made by Asus. It's called the Asus ROG Ally Xbox, or Xbox Ally. Yeah. I already got it wrong. Yeah. Asus ROG Xbox Ally and the Asus ROG Xbox Ally X. What the hell? You guys got to come up.
I will even throw more into this because I don't know how much you've been paying attention to the handheld screen. They literally just took the Rogue Ally, which is an already device on the market, and just put the word Xbox in there.
Kind of. It's a different device.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like, they didn't even try to give it an original name.
No, they didn't try. They didn't. But yeah, it's an interesting looking device. It's one of the first next generation chipsets from AMD.
Yeah.
Most handhelds right now are using the Z1 Extreme. These will be using the Z2 Extreme for the X and the Z2 regular for the, or Z2A, I think they called it for the for the regular one. The biggest thing for me is it's going to be a Windows based handheld that's not running full Windows. It's going to be more Steam OS-esque, which I think everybody's been asking for. That's what everybody wants. They don't want to have to deal with full blown Windows 11 on a handheld. And I think that that will make this a much more streamlined device and possibly a lot more popular.
Yeah, and I think the sheer fact that I believe Steam is allowing Steam to be on this device.
It's got everything. It's got it's GOG, Steam, Epic. You can launch all of that stuff on this, which is awesome. That's one of the reasons I don't own a Steam Deck, because I don't feel like I like to get all that stuff to work on a Steam Deck. You have to hack stuff and mess around with the desktop version of the Steam OS. I don't want to do that. I just want to launch everything from the home screen. That's all I want to do. Which seeing this makes this a much more interesting handheld to me personally.
Yeah. I was instantly intrigued by it because it's the one thing I've been screaming is that I just want an official Xbox handheld with Game Pass on it. That can play
That's
Game
the biggest
Pass games.
thing is you have Game Pass. You can install any Game Pass game you want on this thing.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing that makes me very, very intrigued by this game, by this handheld. But details are still coming out on exactly everything else that's in it outside of that the chip you mentioned. So we'll see. But it is a good first step. We'll probably see more at Gamescom or a little bit later.
I'm gonna guess it's gonna be expensive as all hell.
Oh yeah,
that's just. I'm guessing it's $800, $900 out the gate.
Yeah,
but I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. We'll see.
Yeah. So moving on to the games, we'll leave the one that'll probably have our biggest debate till last. The funniest thing was Silk Song showed up just as part of that handheld ad, which was funny. And they're doubling down on the 2025 launch because Sarah Bond said that Silk Song will be there at launch for when the Ally comes out in the fall. So we will see Silk Song, despite it not having any kind of trailer. First up on the game-wise, as I go down the list here, I never understand what order. I think they do it in reverse order sometimes. But either way, not much to talk about here, so that's why I'll mention first. The Persona 4 remake is real, and it's called Persona Revival.
And it'll be here before you know it. Yeah,
probably next year, I would imagine, because 3 just came out last year, so God knows when they were starting this. But, it looks fantastic from the little bit they showed. The character, they did a good job. It does look like the cutscene character, which Persona 4 was the last one where the cutscene character looked different than the in-game character. So that was good to see. I just hope that they've cut out some of the problematic stuff that's in it, because it is game very much of its era. It was originally a PlayStation 2 game, to let you know how long it's been.
Right. Well, did they cut any of that stuff out of 3?
A little bit, but they kept the one very controversial thing in 3.
Oh, you mean shooting yourself in the head? Yeah.
Yeah. Because you had to. I mean, I don't know how you get around that. That is basically the core concept of the game. But they'll keep some of that stuff. But there's some not Ryu. That's from 3, or 5. But there's one character in this that has some very problematic stuff nowadays when you go through their dungeon in the Midnight Channel. So we'll see if they keep that. But I am excited for it. I will stream it just like I did Reload when it does come out. So I'm just going to touch on things. It's probably be a little quicker here because there's only a couple of things. Next year, it looks like we're probably going to get obviously a Forza, Fable, Gears of War E-Day, and maybe a new Halo, according to Phil Spencer.
How they're going to do all that in 1 year, I have no idea.
I don't know, but he teased it, so everybody can.
So we got to be ready.
Yeah. Another tag fighting game, the Invincible versus fighting game, 3v3. I didn't watch much of the series, so I wasn't as hooked as I was with the Marvel. And it also shows you the difference between one studio and Arc System Works doing a game there. So Planet of Lana 2 looks really good. I didn't remember there was a game called Planet of Lana. I think that is the most that I can say about that. But it looks pretty. I would really, really like to play that game. Mudang Two Hearts is A story-driven, I believe it's made by a Korean developer. That has some stealth action in it that should be interesting.
It looked like a new age Splinter Cell to me.
Yeah.
Or like a Siphon Filter type game.
And then probably the weirdest trailer of a game that I might end up playing. I think it'll be on Game Pass. There are no ghosts in the Grand trailer.
That was an interesting trailer.
My favorite rewatch of somebody watching this press conference was Kyle Bossman. Because as soon as that guy starts singing, he's like, nope. And he just skipped the entire trailer.
He would actually probably like this game. I don't know why he would do that.
As soon as the guy, he's like, nope. As soon as that man started singing to me in first person, I was out. It was so good. It's part
like Power Wash Simulator, part I don't know. It's just a
puzzle
weird
game. It looks like a puzzle game.
It's like a puzzle game, but it's not. I don't know. It's hard
like
to
a mystery,
describe.
like a mystery puzzle game. Like
Yeah,
you have some clues and you got to figure them out as you rehab the hotel in the town. But that was so good. Right. So the new game from the Don't Nod people, I believe that's Alpha Lion, is a space horror game. So yeah, not my time. The Don't Nod games that are not Life is Strange are always interesting, and they've been hit or miss. So I'm interested to see. Probably one of the games that I kind of forgot about a little bit, and then instantly am into, is Clockwork Revolution.
That's the only game that stuck out to me. This whole thing.
Yeah. The steampunk world. The story is so great. It looks done, but they didn't even give any kind of announcement for date. Like there's so much in this trailer, and they didn't even give fall.
They didn't No, they didn't give a year, nothing. It looks great though. I mean it reminds me of, it's like BioShock mixed with like Prince of Persia, where you can manipulate time.
Yeah.
So
and the BioShock stuff of having powers.
Right. It's like that mixed with like Fallout or anything where you can like customize your character and you have different loadouts and all this other stuff. So it's interesting.
Yeah. Next up, the Blooper Team game Chronos: The New Dawn. Again, nothing to say there. This one, Grounded 2 looks good. I didn't really get into Grounded 1 too much. Looks like it's the same thing. I'm guessing you have mounts this time is the big one in this.
Yeah, you're like riding ants.
It's coming up for game preview on July 29th. Hopefully the ants can't die, because I still have PTSD from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Oh, God. Don't remind me.
Yeah. So I hopefully they don't die. But the amazing part about that game is that this, even though it's a game preview, this will be the third game that Obsidian is going to release in 2025.
Which is amazing.
Yeah. You had Avowed. They're doing Outer Worlds 2, which we'll get to later, and Grounded 2. It's kind of ridiculous, and they all seem good. So At Fate's End from the Spiritfarer people looks really good. Spiritfarer is a good game. This looks more action-oriented, but I am interested. I don't know if you had any thoughts, but
it looks like an interesting game with the like the side-scrolling stuff, and then it was just a lot of story stuff, and it was pretty cool. Yeah,
that's essentially how Spiritfarer kind of is, except it's a little lighter on the action than this. But yeah, I trust those people to tell a good story. And then one of the funniest things, the trailer looks amazing. Game looks great. But everybody's reaction from everybody I watched is the trailer for Beast of Reincarnation. The moment the Game Freak logo pops up after
everybody does the same thing, because they develop Pokemon.
Yeah.
So they're all going, what the hell? They're making this?
It's like Game Freak? But all their non-Pokemon games kick ass. So I'm not surprised that this game looks as good as it does in this trailer. The fun part is, it does not look like this game's coming to Switch. Because I don't think Xbox wouldn't, because they have the PlayStation logo on screen for this.
It doesn't say Switch. Maybe it'll be a Switch 2 game.
Yeah. But yeah, I like this isn't even like, oh, they didn't want to put other games logo on it. It had the PlayStation logo there, so it's kind of weird. That Double Fine's game looks like a Double Fine game, and I'm here for it. The Walking Lighthouse Gamekeeper. I'm interested to see what exactly the story is with this. But the gameplay looked fantastic from the trailer. And that looks like it's coming October 17th. So we won't have to wait too long. I'm a little disappointed in the Indiana Jones and the Great Circle DLC announcement. I'm excited to go back in there, but unless if somebody will be in there, I was hoping the DLC would like bring a character from the movies in.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Like either his father or bring Marion in. You know.
Have they said when in the timeline this game is?
The Great Circle is in between Raiders and Last Crusade.
Okay.
Last Crusade. Okay. Because Temple of Doom's a prequel.
Gotcha.
So it's in between that. So you could have even done his dad, because it would be along the timeline. But that's unless they have a surprise up. I was hoping that they would either flashback or dive into Marion stuff, since she is part of like things you find in the Great Circle. And then of course, Tom, they sealed your pre-order by showing Michelangelo in the Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3+4.
Of course.
Yeah. So it looks great.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna try it on Game Pass probably first, because I think I own 1 and 2 on the PlayStation. I like playing Tony Hawk games more on PlayStation controllers.
Yeah,
they have a better D-pad technically for me. So
and the demo's out on Xbox if you haven't tried it yet, Tom.
I haven't, so I will do that.
Yeah, I think it's one level. I forget which one. I downloaded it. And then a game I'm excited for. I don't know where you stand. I like the 3D action Ninja Gaiden games. I'm not any good at the ones that were harder earlier, but this one very much up my alley.
I've never been a huge Ninja Gaiden fan. It is what it is.
Yeah.
It looks good. It looks great, but I probably wouldn't play it.
Yeah. A game that I feel like you would love in like what's it called in gameplay, but not in look, is Super Meat Boy 3D. Just because every time he dies, it's gore splatter.
Yeah, I could do without that, but it look. Did you? I don't know if you caught the like Mario tease that they did with it.
I didn't see the Mario tease. I saw.
So, like in the beginning of the trailer, they like dropped a pipe.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
nothing came out of it. I was like, a little misdirect there.
Yeah, because this story is basically Mario's story. Because there's a person that kidnaps the main character's like girl, in both games. So I could see that little tease. Maybe that was a reference to everybody saying this game feels like Mario. Maybe. Story-wise is why they did that. But it looks like Super Mario 3D World, but Meat Boy, with a lot of the tough puzzle stuff, which I feel you would have fun with, or get very frustrated by. But it's just the gore stuff at death that I think would turn you off. But it's a real good game. And then I think the final 2 games mentioned here, I really got to play all these Plague Tale games because this Resonance looked really good to me. Yeah, I don't know if this is like a prequel or a sequel or whatever, but these games have always seemed intriguing and looked very much like within their time period. So it was interesting to see this be a little bit different.
Yeah, it looks interesting for sure.
Yeah. Yep. And then the final game, which had its own direct afterwards, which I did not watch because as much as I'm excited for this game, I don't think the hype is there enough to warrant a full hour.
I can't sit through an hour of that.
Yeah.
I still need to beat the first one. I like the first one a lot. I just never got around to beating it. But you finished the first one, right? I finished it.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I love the game, but I couldn't tell you anything about it. Like it's like very forgetful.
The only thing I can remember is like the first companion.
Yeah, which was my companion for the whole game.
Right, because there's no reason to pick anybody else.
Yeah. So I'm hoping it improves on that. It looks like it has. Outer Worlds 2 is what we're talking about. If we did not mention that. It's coming October 29th. It looks great. Hopefully it's a little bit longer. Not too much longer. Because as I found out with Expedition 33, that 30 to 60 hour window is probably perfect for games like this in terms of RPG elements to it. I do not want Persona S games being 100-hour games. So hopefully this one's a little longer because I believe Outer Worlds is like 20. I did not stay for the presentation afterwards.
Me either.
I got enough out of the trailer, and it looks fantastic. So we'll see how it is. I love reviewing this list and see them leave out some games. Like I think there was a mention of Mind's Eye in one of these press conferences, and it's just not mentioned. Kind of like the Deadpool game.
Yeah.
We keep ripping on Mind's Eye. I'm going to talk about it so much on Sunday. It is amazing. There hasn't been slight tangent before we transition into the Retro Roulette game. But there hasn't been a release like this since Unity, since Assassin's Creed Unity, the one in France.
Yeah,
where
that one was
just
really broken.
Yeah, literally, there's a repeatable bug where if you hit a guy with a car, he stretches into all these kind of pixels, and it's just really badly done. I don't know if you saw, and I'll dive deeper into it on Sunday, but they literally didn't pull it because of him, but he was starting his sponsored playthrough later, and then they decided to just pull the plug on it. Was Co-Carnage, one streamer out there. You guys, who's one of the ones to jump into for some of these newer games. He's very fair on everything. Even though he does have his things that I sometimes look at and go, and he's like all in on. But he's usually very fair with games. He was about to start the game for the sponsored, and then his management team called him and said that they decided to pull the plug, and we'll get back to him later about doing it.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah. He was like starting at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So it had gone through the whole day of people streaming by the time they got to him. But yeah, I've never seen that happen. So anyway, that's your Mind's Eye tangent here because it's been my favorite story this week. And I can't wait to talk about it more on Sunday. All right, that's all I got for the news here, Tom. I guess this is now Summer Games Fest time, not E3 time.
We'll just call it SGF time from now on.
Yeah, the only thing that was bad about it this year, outside of no like Nintendo thing, is that Nintendo decided to drop a whole entire console, which we will talk about next month. As more stuff gets out because people are just starting to catch up with coverage on it.
Well, that's because they were not sent to anybody.
Yeah, and they literally dropped it while everybody was out in LA.
Right. So we'll talk about that in the next podcast, but some weird Nintendo stuff.
Yeah, but overall, I wish it was more E3 like where we got the wild Ubisoft press conferences. I don't think Devolver did anything. I was upset about that. And I would like to have seen and I would like to see something from EA. I would
have loved a full Square press conference, but we didn't get that either.
That's probably going to be TGS. But.
Yeah, they've kind of migrated all their stuff to TGS at this point.
Yeah.
That's when they really like to show stuff off. But anyway.
Yeah, that's all I have.
Let's get into the Retro Roulette game this week, which was Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 for the Sony PlayStation.
Yeah.
So Mark, where are you coming from with Tony Hawk? Because I know you're not a big Tony Hawk fan.
So that's not exactly the way I would word it. I'm not good at these games.
Well, what was the last one you played?
Well, last one I played was we played one for the podcast, I believe.
Yeah.
Technically, the last one I played 1+2, the remake.
Okay.
But I'm just not any good at these games. I started to figure out some things playing this. 2 felt like a better lead-in than 1, which is weird. You would think the first game in the series would be the one that would be easier to get into, but I got better at this game quicker than I did 1. The only thing that always confuses me is I don't think it's just something my brain can't do, which maybe if I was forced to play this game and only this game, I would be able to get it, kind of like the parrying in Expedition 33.
Yeah.
Is that I just can't get enough of the timing with doing tricks to get high points. I always fall. Like I can't get myself lined up after doing a bunch of stuff. And that's just it's a get good situation, not a bad thing about the game.
Well, I will say that this game needs pretty precise inputs because I streamed the game and I was having some problems because I was using a Bluetooth controller, and just that little bit of lag really threw me off because I went back later and used a wired controller and started going through the levels again, and I was having no problems. So especially if you're playing on an emulator, you're definitely going to see a little bit of that lag hurting your experience.
Yeah, which is why I'm excited I'm going to go play the demo after we get done here for 3+4 with my newly found slight confidence with things. I think what I also got to drill into my head is what each face button does, because they each represent a different kind of trick.
Right. Well, once you figure that out, it makes life way easier.
Yeah. So I was starting to figure that out, but I do play with a wired controller, but the emulator lag is still different. So
yeah. Squares your flip trick, triangles grind, and circle is your grab trick. So Tony Hawk kind of once 1 and 2 came out, that was the control scheme for every other skating game ever after that.
Yeah. So I felt myself getting better at this more than when I played 1 and 1+2 for some odd reason.
Well, one is difficult because there's not a great way to link tricks together.
Yeah.
With 2, they added the manual, so it made life a little easier when you're trying to get high scores.
Yeah.
1 is kind of rough to go back to these days after all the other ones have come out.
Yeah, so I'm excited to at least try 3+4. But yeah, I enjoy the soundtrack. I don't get frustrated or upset. I just wish I was better at it as I'm playing it. That's really it. The game, this one feels a lot better, as you said. That is true. Even from veterans of the game. And the levels just felt a little better to me than here, which a sequel should be doing. I can see what's great about it because when I did nail some stuff, it did feel really good. To get a high point total by doing something. But overall, I think I need to dive deeper into most of these games and maybe playing on a big TV and not my computer screen will let me immerse myself more into it. But that's really, I don't get too far in this, so I don't have much of an opinion in terms of career mode and all that stuff. But I would love to see what your thoughts were going back to it.
Yeah, so going back to these PlayStation 1 games, like I said, it can be a little jarring because as the games came out, they added so much more stuff and they just kept adding and adding and adding. So when you go back to say 1 or 2, you have to kind of reset your mind back to, I don't have all this other stuff to be able to make the game work. So you have to make yourself go back to basics and play the game like you would have, in 2000 or whatever year it was.
Yeah.
Which Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2, going back, since we've played both for the podcast, 2 is way better to go back to. It's also way better of a game.
Yeah.
1 was like a tech demo compared to this, it felt like. I don't know if you agree with that. I don't know if you felt that way.
Yeah. I I could feel myself getting better at this game a lot faster than, I never felt like I got the grasp of 1. And this, I've started going, okay. I got to 10,000 points pretty easily, without, starting to get 4,000 to 5,000, 6,000 points, which I know is minuscule for those of you that are really good at the game. But for me, getting anything more than like 360 ollies and landing them were tough in one.
Yeah.
I was really good at the grinding because that that just relies on you timing the grind and then balancing yourself.
Yeah.
So I was able to pick up points grinding before, but this was the first time I was getting good points on tricks. I didn't do enough to get my special up or anything, but I felt I could feel myself getting better playing this game, which was completely opposite from playing one.
Yeah. Well, another good thing about this game is if you're playing the career mode, as you progress, you can buy yourself stats and you can make your created player better. I should go back real quick. This game added a ton of stuff from 1 to 2. You can now create a skater. You can change your tricks. You can build a park. There's all of this stuff. And you can take your creative skater and go through the career mode. In Tony Hawk 1, you just picked a skater and you went through the levels as you normally would. But in this, there's way more customization. There's way more stuff. And it's hard to believe that they came out like a year, 2 years apart. It was not a long time. And they just packed this game full of stuff, which putting myself in like that mindset of it being 1999, 2000, it's crazy how much more stuff was there. And they still managed to fit as much extra stuff. Like they managed to fit all the videos and all the music. It's and the levels are bigger and better. So it really improved on Tony Hawk 1 in every way. And I could see why this game is a lot of people's favorites. Now, me, it's not my favorite just because, like I said, it's hard to go back to these days. But putting myself in that mindset of when it just came out, it's incredible. It's definitely one of the best games of its time, I would say. Yeah,
and just going on top of that, from a very, very novice Tony Hawk player, these levels just feel better. In terms of, I've always said, I think we talked about, I think it was when we were playing first-person shooters together, the three of us, is that I am a very much a objective-oriented person when it comes to stuff, when it's like, here, like free roam this thing. And I feel that's what's great about Tony Hawk, is that I can get a lot of that stuff without actually being too great at the game. Some of it requires you to know how to speed up and all that to get ramps up off ramps and grind things and stuff like that. But I feel this game gave me a lot more variety of things to do, and also sort of taught me how to do certain things by requiring it to get something. Like the bells in the school level requires you to learn, was it the wall ride or whatever?
The wall ride.
Yeah.
My that's my least favorite thing to do in that game is that specific task in school 2.
Yeah. It's a terrible, because the hitboxes are ridiculous on the bells. But it's one of the shining examples of my point of, they make you learn the game by giving you objectives to do it. Like a lot of these skate and wing thing, like the pilot wing things in the first level, a lot of that stuff is lined up to make you try and do a grind or learn how to go really high off a ramp. Like trying to teach you for the mid levels where you're competing in the competitions, which I failed at all of them, obviously. But those levels are not so much just collectathons or things like that. Legitimately, the things they have you doing on that level is sort of trying to teach you the buttons and the skills to use and how your angles and things like that, just so you can do really well in the competition things. Because at that point, it should seem easy to just go up and back on a bowl, and doing tricks, because you don't have to worry about jumping over anything or hitting this wall at a certain point. It allows you to take all you've learned and do it in a less stressful environment. For it. So that's really I can really see why people got hooked in this game. And if I was more into skater culture when I was a teenager, I could see myself losing, hours to this.
Yeah, I know I did. Still do every once in a while. It's still fun to throw it on. Hear Rage Against the Machine and have fun with it.
Yeah.
All right, Mark, let's give this game a score.
Yeah. So for me, I feel if I'm being objective based on how well I played and all that, I feel a 3.5 would more suit it, but I know everything else surrounding this game and what it really is like when you're actually good at the game. So I'm going to land on a 4 out of 5.
Okay. I was going to say, Mark, if you give this a 3.5, people are going to be pissed.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it a 4.5 just because I know that there's better games than this in the series.
Yeah.
And this is one of the best ones, but it's like right on the edge of being a 5, but it's not. It's a 4.5. But yeah, great game. If you want to try to play 1 and 2 now, your best bet is to play the remasters, but if you want to see where the game came, like the game you play today came from, play 2. Don't bother with 1. The music is great in 1. It's great for nostalgia, but if you're trying to go for the first time and play something, I would say just go right to 2.
Yeah, 100%.
All right. With that out of the way, let us get a new game and spin the wheel.
Yeah, Tom, spin that wheel.
Well, we got an interesting one here. We've got Ghostbusters 2 for the Nintendo Entertainment System.
Man.
I have never loaded this up, so I have no idea what I'm getting myself into.
Yeah, same here. Never played it. But just the words licensed game NES is sending a chill down my spine after my 2 weeks of Jaws.
Don't forget like Yonoid and like Batman. Oh,
yeah. I just have recent history with Jaws.
I know, but like we've had some bad ones. But yeah. If you are listening to this now, we've probably played it on stream, so it could be on YouTube. It might not. We'll see where we're at.
Yeah.
The last Retro Roulette stream did not make it to YouTube because silly me forgot to mute the audio, so it would never. You wouldn't have heard anything on the stream. So, yeah, that one has gone away. So be on the lookout for this. I'm going to try to release these episodes on Wednesdays. So I would like to do the stream the week after that on a Monday. So check that out. One of us will be streaming on that Monday. So it could be Mark playing it, but it could be me playing it. But
yeah,
just keep an eye out on all the socials. Like I said, we're at GameVault Pod on Blue Sky and Threads. But Mark, I think that's going to do it for us this evening.
Yeah, looking forward to Ghostbusters. And just I'll do the normal cleaning, as they call it, or housekeeping, I guess. Yeah, so as Tom had mentioned, we don't know exactly when this goes up. It'll be within the next week or few days when we record this on Friday the 13th. But our normal schedule is Sunday is News Hour. Monday is Retro Night, whether it's my Retro Roulette endurance run where I play through one game until I beat it, an hour at a time. Or we play the Retro Roulette game from the Game Club from this podcast. And then Thursdays is Final Fantasy VI / Tom's RPG Night, depending on when you listen to this. And then on Saturday is my Trails in the Sky, which is my RPG night. We're playing Trails in the Sky second chapter right now. And then the other days, Friday, I did have a show called Should I Stream It? But we got so tied up into Expedition 33 that, like I said, I'm taking a break a little bit because I streamed over 55 to 60 hours in a month of that game. I loved it. I'm not complaining. Absolutely loved every bit of it, but I probably should be sleeping more than I was.
Yeah, sleep's good.
So, but I think after Death Stranding 2, I think we'll get back to checking out, newer games and seeing if we can find. I'm going to see if we can find a diamond in the rough to make our streaming game. Yeah, but that's usually what it is. Our constant days are a Sunday, Monday, Thursday, Saturday, and then just keep an eye on the Blue Sky and any notifications you have if you hit the bell on Twitch when we go live the other days, because the Should I Stream It game, as I mentioned every time, or in this case, I'm not even going to do a Should I Stream It for Death Stranding 2 because that question is rhetorical. That game is the game that comes out of that is I will play it as I would play a game. So if I decide to get up at 9:00 in the morning on a Saturday and start streaming, I will do that. If it means a late night starting at 11 p.m. after coming home from something or after recording TC Tam or something like that, I will do it. So those games are a little more wild, but they all go up on YouTube if you miss a stream. Yeah, that's about it. And then this podcast happens once a month. So be on the lookout for that.
All right. Yes. So come join us on all our social media. Like I said, we are at Game Vault Pod out there. And we look forward to seeing you on stream. And hopefully we'll see you all in the next episode. So for Mark, I am Tom, and we will catch you guys in the next one.